Welcome back to Tempo Control. Especially during the last several years, the conference known as GDC, the Game Developers Conference, has become a place where certain news stories are either announced or during the week they are made known. So let's highlight some of them. We've been building up to it for the last few weeks, but it all starts with the PlayStation VR release date and pricing. And it turns out it's coming October 2016 with a price of $399 in the United States. And sure, we saw it was in that $399 box, but that didn't include the required PlayStation camera, the optional PlayStation Move controllers for some games, or any games period. So PlayStation decided to announce a launch bundle for PlayStation VR at $499, so $100 up, which includes that camera, the 2 PlayStation Move controllers, and the 5 mini-game launch title, PlayStation VR Worlds. Now, the first wave of pre-orders for that go up on Tuesday, March 22nd at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, but it's interesting to note that just the headset alone isn't planned to go on pre-order, really? Because I myself happen to have 2 Move controllers back from the PS3 days. I have that PlayStation camera because I was trying to do some streaming on PS4, so I have those, and I'm not in particular need of PlayStation VR Worlds, but I just like the headset, and that can't be pre-ordered. That seems a little strange. Maybe PlayStation's making it up as it goes along. It almost seems that way. But yeah, I like the price point a lot. I think it's very fitting. Sony doesn't have to operate at a loss for this. And when you consider that you don't have to have an expensive PC to run this, just a PlayStation 4, I think that's very fair. I think the launch bundle is a really good value for those that are missing those required and optional parts. And I particularly like the cinematic mode of PlayStation VR. The idea that you can play any PlayStation 4 content in a cinematic mode, just like with 3 different levels of zoom, I think that would work very well. So it's not just VR games, and I think that works out very well for if PlayStation VR has a future in the experiences realm that go beyond just games with VR. What I don't like, I wish the headset just had a pre-order all on its own. And also these little bundled in earbuds. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. I hope that it's comfortable to wear at least a good pair of isolation headphones, because VR is also going to be about the sound just as it is the visuals. Anyway, some more quick hits. Moving away from VR, Zero Time Dilemma, the 3rd game in the Zero Escape series, was confirmed at a panel to have a release date of June 28th, 2016 for 3DS and Vita. And man, I can't wait for Zero Time Dilemma. It's one of my top 5 anticipated games of the year. It's also going to be coming to Steam later this year, and they were kind of teasing the possibility of maybe the first 2 Zero Escape games are going to be coming to Steam as well. I mean, that's not confirmed, but they were kind of hinting at that, and I'd really like to see that, get more people playing those games. Because it seems like that's what these smaller Japanese studios are trying to do. I mean, you've seen the Danganronpa games moving from Vita to Steam, and now maybe the Zero Escape games as well. So I'm really excited, can't wait to see Zero Time Dilemma in my hands, see the resolution of that story. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt won the grand prize at the IGF GDC Awards, which apparently makes it the most awarded video game of all time, and that really means I should play it soon. It's important to note that Undertale was nominated for a few awards, but hours after hosting a Women in Video Gaming luncheon, Microsoft decided to throw a party that featured scantily clad women in schoolgirl outfits. Now, they're apologizing company-wide. Phil Spencer saying that does not represent us at all. They're going to have a talking to with whoever set that up, and someone's definitely getting fired, but a really bad look there for Microsoft. During a Capcom localization panel, we saw this screenshot. Don't drive to meme country. Very good advice, because for good localization, you want to borrow the humor of the game and kind of implement it for a Western audience, but don't just rely on memes. We've been seeing certain companies kind of rely on that a little too heavily, and it gets a little cringeworthy. From Monster Hunter to Nintendo news, Miitomo is now out in Japan on mobile devices, and will be out in the United States by the end of the month, according to Reggie Fils-Aimé. Not only that, but on the rumor front, we got a photo of what looks to be a possible NX controller prototype. This was reported at large by Destructoid, and it does match an old Nintendo patent. I personally think it looks ergonomically awful, and I hope it isn't true at all, but it's one of those, if it comes true, we saw it here first. And finally, Kotaku got wind of PS4.5 discussion at GDC, and they followed up with a couple other sources. It's a really interesting write-up by Patrick Klepek. And it goes back to the discussion of upgradable consoles that we had a couple weeks ago. I mean, Phil Spencer talking about it possibly for Xbox One and then backed off on those comments, and now we're hearing stuff like this. maybe this is the future of consoles, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but you can go back and check out our discussion if you want more in-depth stuff with that. It's always an interesting time at GDC. I mean, we're a few months out from E3. Speaking of E3, we'll talk more about that later in the show.